Good morning, Happy Valley, and welcome back to another edition of the PSU 365 podcast. I'm your host, Richie Schneider, joined as always on a weekly basis by my co-host, Dylan Callahan Crawley. Dylan, some interesting, I'm not going to say exciting, some interesting news going on with Penn State basketball. Yes, we're talking Penn State basketball. The season's might be over, but some weird roster movements as Kanye Clary has been dismissed from the team yesterday, according to Mike Rhodes, and it was a coach's decision. I guess my first question for you was, were you surprised?
I definitely was surprised to a degree. I mean, I guess there have been some, rumblings that there were some people upset, but I never heard anything, concrete that made me think that this was a legitimate possibility coming into yesterday. So yeah, I definitely was surprised that he's no longer with the program.
Mm-hmm. So now, just going based off stats, he was the number one leading scorer. I know he missed a couple games due to an injury, which I believe was a concussion a couple weeks ago. But no show for the Nebraska game this past Sunday or Saturday, and I think that's kind of when we started to. No one really speculated. I feel like it just kind of came out of nowhere. But what are you hearing for the reason why this kind of happened?
Yeah, so I think you and me have both heard some rumblings that it could have been a little bit of NIL related stuff. It could have been, his recent playing times, things like that. I think there was just a lot of, I'm trying to think of a good word, not
tension.
There's some tension over the last few weeks, and somebody brought up on our board, apparently his dad has even been, in the Facebook groups of Penn State basketball, complaining and bitching about Mike Rhodes as well, and I think somebody said that he called Mike Rhodes either an asshole or a bitch after the one game a couple weeks ago. I have to go back and find that, but I mean, if that's the case, then I mean that's and I trust our board members not to make that stuff up as well, and that was a reliable board poster as well, but yeah, if that's the case, then it's not a shock, I guess, that this is what it came to, because then it definitely seems like there may have been some external factors as well.
Yeah, so like you said, it's not the greatest situation in the world, but it seems like I honestly, if it did go down like it's rumored to have go down, and what we've kind of heard that his dad went into Mike Rowe's office and started complaining about playing time, and obviously the playing time thing is a little interesting because the last 3 games he's played were 18 minutes, 14 minutes, 23 minutes. This is your leading scorer. I mean, I guess he should be playing more, but they've also been playing better too. Like Ace Baldwin's taken this game to another level, so. And if that is the way it went down, and Dad really walked in demanding this and demanding NIL, demanding more NIL, I should say, because apparently he had a bag already. I give credit to Mike Rhodes. I think Mike Rhodes did the right thing. I tell the guy, no offense, but if you're gonna pull this shit right now, and it's not a great season by any means. Yeah, you're a good guard, but I have 2 5'11" guards that basically do the same things, and one is more of a veteran. One plays better defense. I'm going to go with my guy, Ace Baldwin, who's been with me for, 3 years with at VCU or something like that. So yeah. I give Mike Rhodes a lot of credit.
Yeah, Mike, and if that is truly the case, Mike Rhodes, came in and is setting the culture and making sure that nobody else dictates who is setting that culture and what type of program Penn State's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I give him a ton of credit. Like I said, no bullshit, just all right, see you later. I don't need you. And it takes a lot of balls to say that about your team's best player, or your team's leading scorer, I should say. Yep. Best player might be a little bit of a stretch, like I said. And that's where kind of a little segue into our next topic, because I want to talk about what the team's kind of going to look like going into what the rest of the season. It is what it is. If they can sneak a couple more wins, it's huge. If not, it's kind of what we expected in year one under Mike Rhodes, who came into this situation with 2 scholarship players, 1 scholarship player. So
yeah, I mean, it was him and Demetrius Lilly who decided to stay.
Yeah, and the rest, everyone else entered the portal. But they did bring in some key pieces, and Ace Baldwin, I think, is going to be a really, honestly, the only guy you really need to retain for next year. I shouldn't say the only guy, but he's the major piece you need to keep for next year's team. But they do return a couple other guys too, and Jameel Brown comes back. Nick Kern, DeMarco Dunn. I think Raquandis Mitchell has another year too, but although he's really not playing much, or is this his last year?
Raquan Mitchell, this is last year.
This is last year. Okay, never mind. I take that back. But Nick Kern has another year. DeMarco Dunn, Ace Baldwin, Jameel Brown, Bragi, Gudmundsson. Is he even going to play at all? Like, is he good? Is he not? Like, I haven't seen much of anything. But even in practice, it sounds like he's a long-term project, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely seems like he's on the trending towards being more of a longer-term project for the Nittany Lions in terms of his development, for sure.
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect of this team. Like, do we? It'd be almost impressive if they were able to keep the whole roster, because I think they have no scholarships currently for next season. No scholarships available with the incoming class as well.
Correct. With Kanye gone, they do not have any scholarships available for next year.
So it's going to be interesting.
Just to clarify my 1 point last time, just so nobody comes, throwing stuff at me. I can't find exactly what his dad was calling him on Facebook. So he was calling him an asshole on Facebook, not a bitch. So nobody comes after me for that. It was an asshole, but yeah, I mean, go back to Clary. Just wanted to get that clarification out there.
No, by all means.
But who were we last discussing?
In terms of the scholarship roster or scholarship chart, yeah,
they're completely full as of right now. Now maybe somebody does leave that we're not expecting to leave. I'm sure there will be. So there will be opportunities for Penn State, most likely, to go into the portal this offseason and find some additional guards. Which I mean, it's hard because they clearly don't have the size in the backcourt to compete at the Big Ten level.
Not in slightest. Backcourt. You're right.
Backcourt to compete at the Big Ten level. So you would think they would want to go forward, but now with Clary gone, I mean you're down to Ace Baldwin, and then you would need a DeMarco Dunn, Nick Kern, or Jameel Brown to step up their game quite a bit. I mean, I think the most likely case there would be Dunn, but you're going to still be asking for a big jump forward, and yes, that's possible. We saw Kanye Clary make a jump from barely playing at all as a true freshman to being one of the better guards in the Big Ten this season. But it's he made it look easy, but it's not going to be that easy for everybody to make that type of jump.
No, it's going to be interesting. So now, like you said, there are 0 scholarships. I think they still are pursuing a scholarship dude on top of all this too, and Max Picard, who they just hosted on an official visit.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I don't really know what's going to happen. I'm going to try to pull up the scholarship chart in a second, but yeah, I mean, it's almost impressive if you could keep your entire roster. It's so unlikely though in today's day and age, especially with the portal.
Right, and I think I'll be interested to see who, if anybody, does leave earlier than we expected them to, via the transfer portal, who it is, because there are definitely some guys I think who could probably play at maybe not, a major college in a major college conference, but could play, some good basketball at a smaller place. So I'll be interested to see who plays.
Here's the current scholarship chart, the way it's set up. I think it's correct if I have it. Yeah, I definitely have it correct. So obviously there's no scholarships this year. There's no scholarships next year with the 4 incoming freshmen that you can see over here. So yeah, like even if I'm just looking, if I'm going to go down the roster right now, I think the top 2 you have to retain. Those are VCU guys too, so I think they return. Zach Hicks has a significant NIL bag, so I might assume he's probably going to stay. And plus, he's had like a mid-year.
He's probably on paper your best 3-point shooter. So you definitely want to retain him. I know it's been ugly at times for him from beyond the arc this year, but he has shown his career to be able to shoot the 3 at a high level. So
for sure. Puff Johnson is a question mark. I could see him leaving because he's going to have 1 year left. I could see him going somewhere else maybe. I thought he was okay. He has his moments, but he is a Pennsylvania native, so maybe he just ends up staying. DeMarco Dunn, meh.
Yeah.
Demetrius Lilly, meh. Jameel Brown, I could see Jameel Brown 100% leaving. I know he's highly ranked recruit, but he hasn't really played much either. So,
so sorry. We talked about who stayed last year. 3 of them: Clary, Brown, and Lilly.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Is Air going to stay?
that's a good question. I mean,
You don't really have another big man, but can Miles Goodman just step in as that big man right away because he's a top 100 recruit as well, and he's a guy that
right.
is technically a Mike Rhodes recruit over a Mike Rhodes transfer. So
Right. Ayers
always
played
good.
just 8 games this year, averaging 6.3 minutes per game in those 8 games. Notably, he has appeared in 7 losses. He's getting playing time when it's a blowout.
Yeah, so garbage time basically.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't see him staying either. I'll be honest with you. Like a lot of these guys, I'd be pushing out.
Here's the big question: is can Carter, Stewart, or Goodman? I know they play different positions, but can any of those 3 guys come in next year and step into a role as a true freshman that Penn State can, rely on them to play decent minutes, which, playing, in more than half the games, averaging, 10 minutes or so a night. Can they make some sort of impact on the court next year? If they can, that's going to be a big boost to this team next year. But if not, the depth on this team gets really thin really quickly.
Yeah, just looking at it right now, I'd probably try to keep all the seniors if I can. That's fine. These 3, I'd honestly be okay with pushing all 3 of them out and just being like, hey, you guys are juniors, but they're probably all, I don't know if they had the COVID year or not. Depending on when they are recruited, if they redshirted or not, which probably not, I'd guess. But I'd probably push all 3 of them out, to be honest with you. And then Bragi hasn't really shown me much of anything. And like I said before, in practices, it sounds like he's not doing that good either. So I might be pushing 4 out, and I might be bringing in a whole new portal group along with this freshman group. And is it going to be like a little bit different of a culture and a different team next year? Yeah, but you got to trust your coaching staff and some of your veteran guys to be able to maintain that culture. Like a Nick Kern, who's very familiar with it, Ace Baldwin, who's very familiar with it. Puff Johnson's played at UNC, so he knows about culture more than anyone, I would say.
So same thing with DeMarco Dunn.
Oh, I forgot he played there too. So I would just, in most of these teams in college basketball nowadays, you need a veteran presence on this team, whether it be 3 guys, 4 guys. If you can retain 5 seniors for next year, that's huge. And they're not just any type of seniors. Like that's your leading scorer, probably your best forward, probably your best 3-point shooter. Good rotational pieces in these 2. I could see him starting, obviously, but you got to hope these freshmen come in and are looking good, because I think Javin Carter. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think Carter could be an interesting one. He's a good player. Stewart, rotation to bench maybe to start year 1. Hudson Ward.
Stewart's more of a combo guard, I believe.
Hudson Ward's probably a long-term project type guy.
Yeah, just come from.
Although he had moments in his Team Canada play. I think it's like under 19 or whatever. But and then Miles Goodman. You got to hope Miles Goodman is the man, or you got to go get a portal big man. You got to go hit the portal pretty hard, and that's why I think you try to open up spots. So you get those 4 spots open. Maybe I take like a Max Picard who just had an official visit, and I go get 3 portal guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, like you said, there's just, and we both said, there's just little depth at certain key spots at center / forward. I mean, Penn State suffers an injury to, Puff Johnson next year, and things can get really dicey really quick.
Puff Johnson or either of the big man. If Air does return, it's Air and Goodman, and that's it. Like one of those gets down, and you're done. So you got to.
But if Johnson goes down, you're completely you're left to 2 guys who have little to no experience at the college level, and I mean I guess Goodman coming in the next season is the only true center on the roster.
Yeah, so that's where it's going to be. I mean, if Air stays and Lilly stays,
Air 6'11", you're right.
Yeah, and Demetrius Lilly's a tweener type body,
but at center you're going to have to rely on a guy, 1 or 2 guys right now who have very little experience, which that's just another hole that they have no roster space to fulfill in the transfer portal right now. So I mean, ultimately, I think somebody is at least 1, maybe 2 people here are gonna end up leaving because it's just they don't have the roster right now to compete in the Big Ten. And into next season, I would say it's a roster that would be even a little bit worse shape than it is right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely a different looking roster. You think 1 to 2 leave? I'm going to go with 4. I think you got to push
I
out
wouldn't be
4 people.
shocked if it's more, but I think they need at least 1 or 2 to leave. 1 or 2 additional players to leave, just to be able to fill in some of the needs via the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do this offseason. Obviously, they're recruiting at a pretty decent rate, actually, for first-year staff. Technically, first-year staff.
Right.
He's been around the block. He knows how to recruit. But you're recruiting Southern Cal Academy, which is one of the better high school programs out there. So
right, and you went out and, like you said, Miles Goodman is a top 100 prospect. So, I mean, you went out and got a top 100 prospect before you played a game as Penn State's head coach. That's impressive.
Yeah, so obviously a relationship he's had building for quite some time now. But other than that, going back to the Clary thing, yeah, he's probably going to enter the portal. I'll be shocked if he didn't. And someone's still going to take a chance on him because even like when stuff like this happens, some school could use a guy that's averaging 17 a game.
Right, and if what we've heard is true, I don't think it's going to – is it going to turn off some schools? Sure, but it's not going to turn off every school. And we knew in our discussions in December and January where Penn State was going to have to do all they could in the NIL to keep Clary around. I mean, if NIL was a true issue here, it's no surprise because this was a discussion we've been having for months about Clary, just for different reasons. So, yeah, he's still going to go. If he enters transfer portal, he'll have plenty of suitors. There'll be plenty of people who want a guard who can average 16.5 points playing in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's different in football for the sole fact that there's 362 Division I basketball teams or 363, something like that. So it's a lot different, and that's Division I, and you can kind of make a name for yourself just about anywhere in D1 as long as you're playing well.
There's
football, obviously, power forward. There's a big gap between that and G5. So.
Yeah, there's maybe 2-3 conferences in college basketball that you probably can make a name for yourself in, and every other conference you probably can.
Yeah. For the most part. I mean, hey, he goes to the American Conference. It's not a bad basketball conference.
No, and I still think there's a good chance he ends up in a major conference.
Yeah, for sure. I could see one of the Virginia schools. Maybe not Virginia because they're like very, very big on culture, but like a Virginia Tech maybe because he is a Virginia native. So
yeah, Virginia Tech. What about West Virginia?
I could see it depending on how that new staff is. I don't really know him that well. I know Bob Huggins wouldn't put up with that shit. Bob Huggins was also probably drunk half the time, so that's besides the point. Didn't even remember submitting his own resignation. Anyway, Penn State basketball has a couple more games left. Next one up is Tuesday, I think. Wednesday? I forget. Wednesday against Illinois. Not an easy one. Illinois comes to... Oh, wait, is this the rec game?
I think you're right.
I believe this one's the rec game against Illinois. So a little extra juice, a little bit different of an environment. Should be an interesting matchup, although Illinois is very, very good. They have a guy who's somehow got around a court case. That's their best player in Terrence Shannon, and he's playing still. He's a very, very good player, but he gets
it's a messy situation.
Yeah, he gets charged with that. That's a pretty bad look on Illinois' case. But anyway, after that, some more winnable games to end the season. I mean, I think Indiana should be a win. That might put the nail in Mike Woodson's coffin.
Yeah, so. that wouldn't be. I would be shocked at that for sure. Mike Woodson, just fortunately for him, has not really panned out recently at Indiana.
Well, you know what I thought about too. Name a coach with NBA head coaching experience that went to college and had zero college experience that has been good. Because Eddie Jordan sucked. Mike Woodson sucked. Who's the other NBA guy in the Big Ten? There's someone, I can't think of it. There's another one. I had like 3 or 4 names like lined up ready to go to, and I can't remember who it was. Oh, Juwan Howard sucks.
Yeah, Juwan Howard definitely does suck. Juwan Howard's. I'm surprised he hasn't been fired.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked that. They did just have a win recently too, didn't they? They just beat somebody. They beat like a big name team too. They beat,
I know Ohio State just beat Purdue, which game? Their first home game after. They
They beat
beat
Wisconsin
Michigan
a
beat
couple weeks
Wisconsin.
ago.
Yeah, earlier
It's
this
a
month.
good win. I mean, but anyway,
But there's
Illinois
a lot of
Wednesday.
red on that schedule.
Yeah. Illinois Wednesday. I'm gonna go with chalk it up as a loss. But the last four: Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Maryland. Winnable, 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 winnable. I think that there's a chance they could win 3-4 or 3-5 to end the season, and maybe you get a little streak going before Big Ten tournament play. And I'm not going to say they're going to make the finals again, but maybe you win a game or two.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it. 3 of those final 5 games are at home. Obviously, one of them is against Bryce. One again is against Illinois, which, like we said, probably lost. But two home games, 2 away games over those last 4 games. Yeah, I could see them splitting. If they, let's say they lose to Illinois, that drops them 12-15. Can't You got to win all 4 to finish above 500. But if they can get to 14-16 here in the regular season, maybe sneak in a win or 2 in the Big Ten tournament, I think that's a really nice first season under Mike Rhodes, considering the circumstances, especially if you're able to do that after losing Kanye Clary.
Yeah, I think it might motivate the guys. Who knows? We'll see. But definitely going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out over the next few weeks. But I'm assuming the staff probably wants to keep things as quiet as possible. I can't imagine them talking much about Clary over the next few weeks. Even in the presser, it's kind of like, yep, he's dismissed. That's it. See you later.
Yep. Now, for those interested in a former Penn State head coach, Micah Shrewsbury, Notre Dame, just check that out. I'm just wondering. They are now 9-16 this year. 151 in the net.
Just saying.
They have Louisville, Syracuse next 2 games, so maybe they can extend their winning streak to 4 here. But
another NBA coach who kind of stinks as a college coach. Who'd you just say? Say the schools again.
Shrewsbury,
Louisville.
Louisville. Yeah. We will. I mean, it's very clear what happened, but the eventual study of how Louisville fell from an elite program to one of the worst in major college basketball is going to be interesting to look at.
Yeah, going to be a lot of coaches fired over the next couple weeks. Good news is Mike Rhodes is not going anywhere. It's year 1 for him, and I think it was decent. And we can recap it later on in the year, but I just think it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't
Pat
bad.
Kraft, I think you're okay with this season if you're Pat Kraft.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, I don't think anybody expected Mike Rhodes to come in and make the NCAA tournament year 1, especially with what he'd have to do. But he had to put together almost an entire roster in a couple of weeks. He took over a recruiting class that had no commitment, so he had basically no help from the 2023 class. No offense to Broggy, but Broggy wasn't ready to play. There's a reason Broggy was a June commitment, a May commitment. Usually, if you're still out there, then there's a reason.
Very true.
So, I mean, considering the circumstances that he had, and now potentially it sounds like having to put up, basketball parents, let's just say, it's an okay season. It's an admirable season. It's a good starting ground. But like we said, you lose Clary, you're losing, Wahab in the offseason as well, which, he hasn't been great, but I think he's put together a better season than I probably expected him to a degree. And there are going to be some big holes that they have to fill this offseason if they want to take a step forward next year, because that's the big question for me is you had a good year, number 1, but how are you going to be able to improve this roster in the offseason to take that step forward? And who on this roster can take that step forward next year and, take their game to another level and help Penn State try to make that next jump? Maybe NCAA tournament. NCAA tournament, probably not a likelihood next season, but I think the goal next season should, be getting closer to or trying to compete for an NIT berth at the least.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out with the roster, but Anyway, let's move on from some basketball talk. Let's talk some football. We got a couple official visitors that we've confirmed. I think we have 3 of them now, if I'm counting correctly, with a couple. I feel like I'm missing one. Is there a 4th one? No, there's 3.
Yeah, I think 3 we have confirmed dates for.
Gotcha. Just go. You want to go through them one by one and just kind of see where the recruitments are at, or talk about where the recruitments are at?
Sure. Starting off with the most recent one, Maryland wide receiver Jeff Exiner out of McDonough, so very familiar high school to Penn State. Owen Mills, Maryland native, 6'3", 205. He confirmed with Adam Friedman recently that he'll be on campus June 14th. Penn State, I think, is in the lead there, but he's also going to be taking visits to Syracuse, South Carolina, and Wisconsin. But overall, I think that's a very winnable recruitment for Penn State here and into, I guess, the next recruiting window. Also confirmed for that June 14th weekend is Columbia, South Carolina safety Onis Konbani.
You know what? That's better than I thought. I could not pronounce that one.
4-star safety, 6'2", 170. Number 3 player in the state of South Carolina. Number 23 safety in the country. He also confirmed to Adam Friedman that he'll be on campus that June 14th weekend. And then I think we may have discussed the last one.
We did a little bit.
But I will bring it up here again. Just let me find the report. All right. Hawaii safety Aiden Monetue will be on campus June 17th. He's also taking visits to Nebraska and Washington on June 14th and June 21st. Recent offeree has only been talking to Penn State for a few weeks, really, but definitely has high interest in the Nittany Lions, and perhaps they go out to Hawaii to pick up a prospect.
Yeah, that would be a little bit interesting. I think that I hate to say this in a negative light, but I think he's going to be in for a little bit of a rude awakening going from Hawaii to State College.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a different atmosphere.
Yeah, slightly.
A little bit different. The beach is not very.
No, it's a
little colder.
Very different. Yeah, tiny bit, right? Just a little bit. The interesting one is I want to go back to the Oni. Is that how you pronounce it? Oni Konanbani?
Yeah.
That's close enough, right? He kind of intrigues me because he had a future cast for Miami that was put in back in January, but it looks like Miami is really not in the running. It sounds like it's more North Carolina, Penn State, and maybe a couple others because his top list recently doesn't have Miami. So,
yeah, that'll be an interesting one, especially considering what Penn State also has going for them on the safety board. They're in, they're in a good spot for several safeties. So I do wonder where he falls on that board, and that will be something we try to figure out here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point because I know Winston from Gonzaga obviously is very high on the team. I think there was another safety I can't remember. Xavier Bridges-Brooks was very high. Yeah. Called Penn State is number 1.
Right.
So they're gonna have their pick of the litter a little bit for safety.
Right. And then there's Jadon Blair out of North Carolina
forgot about him.
I think Notre Dame may be in the front right now, but Penn State's in that argument. Now, with Blair, Notre Dame just did lose their safeties coach to the Chargers, I believe. Okay. So perhaps that impacts his recruitment. But they're in a very good spot for several safeties.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see where they kind of land on that. He actually has an official visit as well, which I forgot to put on the profile, looks like, for June 21st to Penn State, which will be his last official visit. He's going to South Carolina, Notre Dame, Michigan, and then Penn State on the 21st, right before the dead period. So, I mean, Penn State has a pretty damn good shot, and they're going to have last dibs on him. So,
yeah, and you can't complain about getting that last official visit.
No, that's always huge. I'm trying to think who else. I don't think there's anyone else really.
Right now, I don't think so. I do know. I know Dub Jellison's going to have more on it, but he did tell us yesterday that I believe. Let me find the date for when he's going to be on campus.
Who's this?
Dia Bell, 2026 quarterback.
Oh, yes.
Dia.
That's a good question. DIA. I'm not really sure.
He'll be on campus March 23rd.
Okay, he'll be on campus. I know Cortez Mills, the wide receiver from Florida, is coming up as well. I believe that's March 23rd as well.
Yeah, it's a program sticking out for him.
Yeah, they're definitely an interesting name to watch, especially because they just landed their first receiver in Lyric Samuel. If you haven't watched that pod yet, we broke down basically everything, how it went down, all that good stuff. But yeah, no, I mean that's really it. The St. Thomas More guys, they're also pursuing. They're very good connections to St. Thomas More, of course, because they got Zion Tracy from up there. They're doing good in the New England area in general.
Yes,
but definitely they're pursuing Charles Bell, who's a lengthy cornerback. He's 6'2", 170. Tall, lengthy cornerback, nice prospect. He's going to take a visit to Penn State. He hasn't scheduled yet. Maryland, he hasn't scheduled yet. And then Rutgers, he just scheduled for May 31st. And then the same thing goes for Adam Shovlin, Pennsylvania native, who's playing up there. He has a little bit of a different visit schedule. He has Rutgers on the 31st. He's planning. Hasn't scheduled yet. Has a Stanford one for June 7th, I believe. And then June 14th or 21st, they're kind of looking to get both of those guys on campus. So we'll see what happens with that. I do expect both of them to visit. I don't know where Shovlin kind of falls on the board for Penn State currently. But I like him as a prospect. I was able to see him a couple times in the offseason and during the season. And I go up there once in a while, too, or once every spring to check on some of the prospects they have. So I definitely keep an eye on him. He's an intriguing one. I think he could be a borderline 4-star when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And, Penn State now 12 commitments in the 2025 recruiting class. That means, they only have – we've been going off what? We've been saying 23 to 27 commitments maybe in this class. So they're just about halfway done this class, which means
that's insane.
Space is starting to get tighter, and some kids are going to have to decide sooner than later if they want to be part of this class. Because there's been recruits in the past who have had high interest in Penn State, but Penn State's not going to turn down necessarily somebody else that they're really high on just to wait for you. It's it's eventually get your spot or find somewhere else type situation. So some kids are going to find themselves in that situation sooner than later here.
I mean, you could say it the way the old wives' tale: either shit or get off the pot. That's pretty much it.
I mean, we're kind of seeing it with the linebackers. Penn State has 3 linebackers already. They, I think, are willing to take a 4th, but they're going to be very selective with that 4th linebacker spot they take. And I think we've seen that in play over the last few weeks.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. Expect some offensive linemen to start scheduling visits as well. I know, who was it? Rowan Byrne is scheduling one. I talked to him today. He's in the process of narrowing it down. Who was the other one? Someone else. I can't remember for some reason. Michael Carroll. They obviously care a lot about him. He's a legacy. He got the whole helicopter treatment to his school and all that good stuff from Franklin. So keep an eye out on those two. I'm expecting those two to announce visit schedules very shortly.
I imagine Penn State, South Carolina, Michigan will all get visits from Carroll. And then I'll be interested to see who are the remaining teams getting visits there.
Yeah, for sure. That's really all we got for recruiting right now. It's a dead period currently, so there's not really much else to talk about.
It does start back up, but we're February 20th, so about 2.5 weeks till visits start up again.
Kids will be on campus visiting spring practices and all that good stuff.
And then heading into spring practice visits, I think the big one we're watching is Matt Zollers.
Yes, it's going to be a really big one.
Penn State obviously in the race there. So is schools like Georgia, Missouri, and then who's this for? Pittsburgh.
Which I don't really.
I still feel it's a Penn State Georgia battle right now, but I'm keeping a very close eye on Missouri.
Okay.
I think the Tigers have quite a bit of NIL money to play with, I'm told, and that's a very good offense down there. They really showed improvement this year under Kirby Moore, the brother of now Philadelphia Eagles offense coordinator Kellen Moore. And we saw the development of Brady Cook down there as well at quarterback this season. Missouri is definitely in the race, but for now I think still have them behind Penn State and Georgia, but that could change quickly in recruiting.
But you know what they don't have? an athletic director.
That's true.
That was such a weird move to go from an SEC program to SEC athletic department to the Big 12 athletic department. For those of you that don't know, the Missouri athletic director, I forget her name, ended up leaving for Arizona to be athletic director. So,
which is her alma mater, which I guess is the only reason it makes sense.
That makes more still SEC, like
especially for an athletic department that I got fired for massively
that too, yeah.
for massively failing to keep track of their money correctly.
Yeah, that's a big blow, but don't worry now. They're in the good old. I don't even know what conference they're in. Are they in the Big 12 or in the ACC?
They're in the Big 12.
That's such a gross thing. Who joined the ACC? It was you, Cal, and someone else.
Stanford.
Yeah, dude. What this college football sucked.
It's not your father's college football anymore. That's for sure.
Well, the good news is when the SEC and Big Ten secede from everyone else, we'll still have this podcast.
we'll still have Penn State football. That is for sure.
Yeah,
we'll still have
Penn
jobs.
State football is not going anywhere, and none of the Big Ten or SEC schools are. The rest, who knows what's going to happen. But any other thoughts on this before we wrap it up?
I got nothing.
That was a good way to wrap it up, talking shit about the rest of the college football world. But if you guys haven't already, check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. It's free. Give us a rating on Spotify or Apple. We really appreciate it. Helps us out. Helps us grow the pod, all that good stuff. Also, you can check us out on pennstate.rivals.com, a.k.a. Happy Valley Insider. We have the Lions Den Forum, which is jam-packed with all kinds of recruiting content, recruit scoop, team news, discussing all the backstories behind everything that goes on behind the scenes of Penn State football, kind of an insider perspective, I should say. We also have the Wrestling Room Forum, which is the #1 Penn State wrestling forum on the web. Check it out. Those guys go nuts every day of the week. It doesn't even have to be Penn State related. They're talking all wrestling. There's a little UFC, MMA talk as well from time to time, because you do see some Penn State guys go that route. But yeah, for me and Dylan, that's another episode of the PSU 365 podcast. Signing off.